this Christmas Eve. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live. As always, I'm Bryson Carver, and what a great show we have for you guys this day before Christmas. For all the kids out there, the day pretty much Santa gets to work. He gets to work tonight. He's got a long day ahead of him. He's got a lot of places to be for sure. But a lot of football to talk about, without a question. And kind of, okay, enough with the jingle bells. All right, a lot to talk about in regards to, obviously, San Francisco and Tennessee. It was a great game last night. I picked San Francisco to win by 10. They obviously did not. The Titans won on Randy Bullock game-winning field goal. Credit to them. Credit to Ryan Tannehill for getting them down there and giving them an opportunity with his arm and with his legs. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about some of the Christmas Day games in just a second. They're going to be played tomorrow. Some tainted, obviously, by this little thing called COVID, which obviously stinks. But getting to that, and of course, it is Week 15. No, it's Week 16. I'm sorry. It's Week 16 of the 2021 NFL season. Like I told Barry Grant Jr., my man, yesterday, I can't believe that that's the case. But I'm going to predict Week 16 Sunday action in the NFL, as well as tomorrow's action. We got 2 games tomorrow on Christmas Day, 2 really good games tomorrow with huge playoff implications. But let's start with the San Francisco 49ers and the Tennessee Titans, that big game last night, Thursday Night Football. So I know a lot of people today, San Francisco sitting there at 8-7. They're still in the playoffs as of today. And there might be some people out there kind of panicking a little bit. Excuse me. Basically saying, okay, this is the 49ers' limit. They'll go as far as Jimmy Garoppolo takes them. To a certain degree, maybe you're right. We all know this is a quarterback's league. I've said that multiple times throughout this season, throughout last season before that, every season I've had this show. It is a quarterback's league in 2021. But to me, this is kind of what San Francisco is, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Matter of fact, I think San Francisco, as I said, going into the season, is in a great position. There's a lot of teams out there that are desperately looking for quarterbacks, and the San Francisco 49ers have 2 franchise guys in that locker room, in that organization. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to win you a lot of games. He's going to get you the playoffs. Maybe win you a playoff game or 2 like he did in 2019. And once they trade him off, which is what all the reports for the last month have said, even throughout this winning streak, even throughout this hot streak that the 49ers have been on, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get traded maybe to Denver or to Pittsburgh or somewhere, and it's going to be Trey Lance's team. And I've said since the draft, Trey Lance is going to be the best quarterback to come out of this draft class in 2021. But that's Jimmy Garoppolo. He needs a running game. He only got 83 yards on 21 carries, so struggled to run the football a little bit. Credit to Tennessee for kind of realizing that. And Deebo Samuel is unstoppable. 191 total yards. In the run game, particularly in the pass game, he obviously had the 56-yard completion there to set up the 49ers with what would be the game-tying touchdown before Tennessee would go down and get the game-winning field goal. But that's Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's not even a shot at him. This is not me taking a shot at Jimmy Garoppolo and saying, oh, he's overrated. No, he's about what I thought he was. He's a top 15 quarterback, probably right at 14-15. When you're not reliant on Jimmy Garoppolo, 2019 happens. You go to the Super Bowl. He's a lot like what Tom Brady was. People say, oh, Mac Jones is like Tom Brady. No. Jimmy Garoppolo is more like what Tom Brady was when he first came into the league. You're not going to ask Tom Brady to carry you. You're not going to ask a 6th-rounder out of Michigan to throw for 300-400 yards a game and keep you in games. No, it was about the defense. It was about the running game. It was having an outstanding head coach in Bill Belichick out-game plan other coaches. Same case in San Francisco. You've got the defense. They held Tennessee to 20. I think you'll take that. You've got the running game. Heck, Jimmy even has something that Brady didn't have, and that's just a dynamic offensive player in Deebo Samuel, who, when he is healthy, changes the San Francisco offense. And so that's kind of what I compare it to. I mean, the 2 playoff wins the 49ers had just 2 years ago, I don't think Jimmy G threw for 100 yards in either of those games. He was a little bit Ryan Tannehill-ish. It's funny they played each other last night because that's kind of what it was for the 49ers 2 years ago. But I still hold tight to the fact that San Francisco's going to get in the playoffs. Don't panic. They're getting in. Whether it's the 7 seed, whether it's the 6, they're getting in. and you do not want to play them. You don't. You don't want anything to do with these guys. Now, on the other side of things, you could say maybe other defensive coordinators are saying, okay, that's the blueprint. Make Jimmy Garoppolo beat us for 60 minutes, not for 2 minutes. Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen throughout his career, you could say he's got a pretty good clutch gene to a certain degree. He's had a lot of game-winning drives. He had a game-tying drive last night. Last time he had the football, tied the game at 17 with 2 minutes to go. Credit to him. It's throughout the duration of the game that you kind of have questions. And this is why San Francisco drafted Trey Lance. A special, dynamic playmaker at the quarterback position who's not ready quite yet in his rookie year, but by next year, he'll be ready to go. People kind of get tired of hearing this comparison, but it's true. It's Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. They draft Patrick Mahomes in 2017. Maybe he's not quite ready to go yet. You got a veteran in Alex Smith who can win you a lot of games, get you to the playoffs. Heck, they won the division. But ultimately, once you get to the playoffs, you don't have that dynamic playmaker at quarterback. A year later, you get Patrick Mahomes, and you come within a few plays of going to the Super Bowl. That's kind of what it is for the 49ers. And so I wouldn't, if I'm a part of Bang Bang Niner Gang, I'm not too worried about that last night. But yes, I know it sucks to lose a close game on the road, Thursday night, whole country watching. I understand that. But I wouldn't panic over the ramifications of what that game meant. It's tough. It hurts your playoff seeding. But ultimately, I still think San Francisco's a team that can go on the road and win playoff games. It's not like a team where, they struggle on the road. It's the old saying in football, two things travel. Whether it's great weather, whether it's horrible weather, in between, if you got the defense, San Francisco does. You got the running game, San Francisco does. And certainly if you got a great game plan or a head coach, you can go places. So, again, I'm not worried about the 49ers whatsoever after that loss yesterday. This is a team, I'm telling you, and I'm kind of worried for my Cowboys, and this is why I want them to get the number 1 seed. I do not want San Francisco in the wild card round. No, thank you. Give me Minnesota. Give me New Orleans. Give me any of these teams. Do not give me the San Francisco 49ers. I don't want those guys. And as for the Tennessee Titans, look, against a great defense. Derrick Henry's still out. Probably will be until the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill made the clutch plays down the stretch that won the game for Tennessee. You look at his numbers, he was solid. 209 yards, touchdown, QBR of 74, a passer rating of 106. It's good. He got A.J. Brown off of IR yesterday. That made a difference. And so, look, Tennessee has playmakers. But we all know the offense isn't quite what it is capable of being if King Henry's not in there. We knew that. And so, for Tennessee, if the Colts, and again, I'll predict this game later, if the Colts the Colts lose to the Cardinals, the Titans win their division. They got a home playoff game, just like they did last year. And we'll see what they can do from here because the defense has gotten better. We all know Mike Vrabel's an excellent head coach. You get Derrick Henry back. Now, what Derrick Henry will you get back is the question. This is a team that can win a playoff game. Absolutely. They'll be at home. Maybe they play a Baltimore, a Chargers. Who knows? We'll see. But credit to Tennessee. That was a bigger game to me for Tennessee than it was for San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco's playoff seeding is going to matter. Their chances of winning the NFC West are dashed. That's either the Rams or the Cardinals. So for them, it's about, can we establish an identity? Can we establish some sort of momentum of who and what we are going into the playoffs? And I think they've done that. I think they have. So I don't think there's anything to worry about for the 49ers. As for the Titans, this is a huge win for them. And they got a home playoff game, and we'll see what they can do from here. I don't bet against Mike Vrabel for what he's done in the NFL since he came in. He's an excellent head coach. Moving for just a second before I get into my predictions about my NFL predictions, rather. The NBA. People may get tired of hearing me talk about the Cowboys or the big brands in baseball like the Red Sox, my Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. Or in basketball, my Warriors, the Knicks occasionally, and of course the Los Angeles Lakers. People may get tired of that. But at the end of the day, those are the big brands of sports, and it's kind of like There are those teams, there's those brands out there, those people out there. You love them or you hate them, but you can't ignore them. And that's what the Los Angeles Lakers are. I don't hate them. Listen, hate in a basketball context, obviously. I don't hate anybody. But with the Lakers, it has everything to do with the fact that they're a division rival of my Golden State Warriors. That's what it all stems from. But the Lakers did Lakers things yesterday. You know what I'm saying? The last game in the history of an arena that used to be called the Staples Center. It will now be called Crypto.com Arena. Lakers fans, I don't like your team, but I genuinely feel for you guys and your team. As we have a comment here. Saints 101 is back in the comments. What's up, man? He says, predicting Saints versus Miami. Not today. I will on Monday. That's the Monday night game, obviously. That one, man, I don't know what to do. Because the Saints defense is outstanding. So is Miami's. Taysom Hill, I don't trust him as much as I do Tua, but the game is in New Orleans. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with that game, but stay tuned for Monday because I will definitely predict that. But that one, I'm glad that that's not on Sunday and I get to wait a whole weekend to do that one because I don't know. I don't know on that one, man. I listen, Saints win. I won't be in the slightest bit shocked the way they're playing right now. He says, thanks, bro. I know it's insane with COVID. No Hill. I mean, that's the thing. Taysom Hill's out. I forgot about that. So you're going to have Ian Book. I saw they signed Blake Bortles today. So, and Trevor Simeon's out too. So even if you wanted to go with him, he's out with COVID. So I'm telling you, man, this thing is spreading like wildfire right now. And hopefully the Saints, just like everybody else, can get healthy soon. He says, no Hill, no safety, both on COVID. That's a killer. You really wish you had Jameis Winston right now because I loved what he was doing up until that ACL injury. And I think if you can't get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, don't go after Jimmy Garoppolo. I like Jimmy. Stick with Jameis. I think under Sean Payton, he can maybe not develop into the first overall pick that he was drafted as by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2015, but he can be a good player in this league. I really do believe. I think he can be a solid quarterback. Excuse me. Back to the Lakers. Staples Center hosted its final game last night. Of course, the Lakers played, not the Clippers. That is not the Clippers building. That's the Lakers. They play the San Antonio Spurs last night. Now, it's a young team. You got guys like Derek White and DeJounte Murray, who I really like. Jakob Poeltl. You got some nice players for San Antonio, but you know it's kind of hard to believe that just a few years ago this was a perennial championship contending dynasty, and now they're kind of left in shambles somewhat with a bunch of young players and Greg Popovich. Last game at Staples. And the Lakers lost by 28. Despite the fact that LeBron played one of his best games of the year, 36 points, shot over 50% from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. LeBron did just about all he could. I mean, you look at Russell Westbrook too. Russell was that was one of Russell's most efficient nights of the year, and that's what's got to be discouraging for the Lakers, is that was one of the better games you'll get from Russ, and you lost by nearly 30. Russ dropped 30, 12 for 20 from the field, shot well, only took 2 threes, made one of them. You'll take that. 7 rebounds, 4 assists. The problem is they didn't have the horses to run with them, and they darn sure didn't have the defense to help them out. So the Lakers now in a 4-game losing streak. Anthony Davis is out. LeBron James is 37 in a week's time. Russell Westbrook, that's one of his better games of the year. That's like the ultimate anti-Westbrook game. He's efficient. He's distributing the ball well. Now, in regards to the turnovers, obviously, Russ had 5 of those, but that comes with Russell Westbrook. You're going to have the turnovers. There's nothing you can do about that. He's a ball-dominant guard, and that's just the way Russ is, and that's how he's always going to be. He's been in the league for now 13, 14 years. He's not changing. So, for the Lakers, this is starting to really be an alarming sign of a play-in team. I said before the season, I think they're a 4 or 5 seed. The pieces didn't fit. Roster was old. Didn't particularly trust the coach. 5 seed. They get by just on talent. But they get bounced in the second round because I thought they played Denver, and I just like the matchup Lakers over Denver. But I said they'd run into Phoenix in the second round, and I would absolutely take Phoenix. Roster doesn't fit. They don't play defense like they used to. They say the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I'm not talking about LeBron going to LA. That's not what I'm referring to. What I am referring to, however, is going out and getting a third star when you had some good complementary pieces. I mean, this is what the Warriors dealt with. KD worked with the Warriors. Won 2 finals MVPs, won back-to-back championships. KD worked beautifully with my Golden State Warriors, but they had to make a sacrifice. Obviously, Steph and Clay, and they had to take a fewer shots. But because they're paying Steph big money, and Clay big money, and KD, and Draymond, and Iguodala, and Livingston, you had no bench. So that's what kind of got the Warriors in the end when KD got hurt. Is you got KD out, and you got the three amigos, as I like to call them, Steph, Clay, Draymond. But you got an older Iguodala. Livingston retired after that postseason. And it's kind of a bunch of guys. Jonas Jerebko and Quinn Cook. I like Quinn Cook a lot, but he's a guy. You got guys like, who am I missing? Damian Jones. I mean, it was a thin roster after the superstars. For the Lakers, they're not just thin. They're old and they don't play defense. They had the guys last year. Last year for the Lakers. People forget they were in the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference before AD starts dealing with injuries, and then LeBron has his ankle turned by Solomon Hill. But Dennis Schroeder gave you good minutes as a defensive guard. Now, I know a lot of Lakers fans will say, well, Dennis Schroeder should have came off the bench. I agree with you. I'll give you that. Dennis Schroeder works better off the bench than he does in the starting lineup. I think we've seen that so far with the Celtics. But you got a good defensive guard who could score a little bit, maybe give you 15, 20 on a good night. Kyle Kuzma, who is a good scorer, not a bad defensive player. KCP, which that's the one guy I was like, what are they doing? Trading Kentavious Caldwell-Pope after what he did in 2020 in the bubble, in the finals. I mean, KCP was money in the finals. He was outstanding. And he had a good season last year, and all of a sudden you get rid of this guy who can shoot and play defense. Isn't that exactly what we want in today's NBA from guards? I need you to be able to shoot threes, make threes, and play defense. And that's kind of the guys LeBron loves, if you look at his career. So you get rid of KCP, get rid of Kuzma, get rid of Schroeder. I get Montrezl Harrell. That bridge was kind of burned between he and Frank Vogel. You get rid of Montrez. But this offseason, Kent Bazemore. Listen, I love Kent. He's friends with my favorite player, Steph Curry. And he's, he played with the Warriors for a few years, including last year, but he's a guy. He makes threes occasionally, but he gives you nothing on the defensive end. He's not a good ball handler, and I don't think you really trust him in big spots. Steve Kerr didn't, at the very least. You bring Dwight Howard back, but he's got a little bit more tread on those tires. You bring Carmelo Anthony in, which has worked. I'll give you that. Melo's worked pretty well. But last night, 3 for 8, 9 points, 1 for 5 from 3. He's getting up there in age. Malik Monk, you don't know where you're getting from him on a night-to-night basis. Wayne Ellington can give you what he gave you against the Dallas Mavericks last week. Or he can give you 7 points like he did last night. That's the problem. Is the Lakers don't have a group of guys to where a guy can be plugged in and stepped up. I watched the Golden State Warriors last night play the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis is a legit team. I told y'all going into this season, you better not mess around with Memphis. Memphis is starting to build something. Not this year, but they're climbing. Warriors played Memphis last night, who's kind of had their number the last couple of games. And you've got Damian Lee, who's a great shooter, who's played well the other night. He's out with COVID. Andrew Wiggins, walking 20, 25 points and great defense. He's out with COVID. Jordan Poole, walking 20, 25 points. He's out with COVID. And Golden State has guys that can step up and play big. Toscano Anderson and Gary Payton, who played very well last night. Otto Porter. Pieces that fit with their superstar, Steph Curry, and eventually Klay Thompson. The Warriors had an objective. going into this past offseason. Surround the Splash Brothers with other shooters who can play defense. We're not going to be obsessed with size. Just about every game we play, they're going to be bigger than us. Our center, as of right now, until James Wiseman comes back, and he's 20, he's a kid, our center's 6'9", Kevon Looney, who's good defensively. He's really good on the perimeter, but he is undersized. Draymond plays the 5 sometimes. What is he, 6'5", 6'6"? But they had an objective. Get guys that can shoot and play defense and work with Steph and Draymond and Clay. The Lakers, it's just add talent. That's not an objective. Get guys that fit with LeBron. I get LeBron's getting up there in age, and he's still great. He wants to play with Melo. He wants to play with some of the younger guys, Malik Monk. He wants to bring Dwight Howard back from the championship team. It doesn't work. They're 16 and 17 for a reason. The great Bill Parcells once said, and it's true, you are what your record says you are. And I'm carving it up, and I love LeBron, but we keep receipts on carving it up. This was from, I think, July or August. We've kept this tweet from LeBron that has now been deleted. Keep talking about my squad, our personal ages, the way he plays, he stays injured, we're past our time in this league, etc., etc., etc. Do me one more favor, please, and I mean please. Keep that same narrative energy when it begins. That's all I ask. Hashtag thank you. Well, LeBron, that's what I'm doing. It doesn't work. All right. It is week 16 of the NFL season. We got some good ones, man. It's coming down the wire. We're coming down to the final days of the regular season in 2021 in the NFL. And there's some good ones. We got some Christmas Day matchups tomorrow. 2 of them. 2 really good ones, by the way. Got some lines that are interesting to say the least. I've got my upset of the week, which this might be the biggest plunge I've ever taken in my upset of the week department. And, of course, if I were a betting man. So here we go. Let's get the music started. Should have some Christmas music, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do it the regular intro here. So starting with Christmas Day tomorrow, you got the Cleveland Browns and the Green Bay Packers. The line for that game tomorrow is Green Bay minus 7.5. The game is at about 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific time on the NFL Network and Fox. By the way, this is what's so funny about the NFL. They won't let the NBA even have their day. The NBA, it's like their day is Christmas, and the NFL's like, nope, we're gonna come in to steal some ratings for you guys. That's the NFL's. I'm telling you, it's an aggressive business, and more times than not, it's worked. But to this game, again, we don't know for certain if Baker Mayfield or even Case Keenum is going to be off the COVID list. My guess is they probably will be, but we'll have to hold our breath and see. Same with Jarvis Landry. So the Browns are coming off the COVID list. They're a little bit beat up physically, psychologically. That was a tough loss they took against the Vegas Raiders on Monday night. They're 7-7. They are fighting for their playoff lives. As a Cowboys fan, I'm rooting hard for Cleveland because if Cleveland wins and Green Bay loses, guess who just slides in that number 1 seed with the win on Sunday against Washington, which I'll get into later. That would be the Dallas Cowboys, of course. And so with Green Bay, they're at home. Their offense is clicking. Their defense is not. I don't trust that Green Bay defense, but it's the Browns offense. Stop Nick Chubb. Easier said than done, but stop the run, and you won't have any issues. I'm going to take the Packers to win this game. I got them doubling up the Browns 26-13. 26-13, the Packers win on Christmas Day. They do cover the 7.5-point spread, and they go to 12-3 on the season and keep that number 1 seed for the moment. Let's go to the second game on Christmas tomorrow. You got the Indianapolis Colts and the Arizona Cardinals. Boy, is this game intriguing because you got Indianapolis, who is the San Francisco of the AFC. A quarterback that you don't really want to carry you, but an excellent head coach. A great running game. Good weapons. Nobody as good as Deebo Samuel, obviously, as far as in the receiving core, but good weapons. And then defensively, they give you nightmares. By the way, their special teams is outstanding as well. They're basically New England, but better at everything New England does outside of maybe defensively. And so they're going on the road to Arizona to take on a Cardinals team that all of a sudden is sputtering a little bit. They're 10-4. Just 2 weeks ago, they were the number 1 seed. 2 weeks later, they're the number 4 seed, fighting just to win the division. They lost to Detroit on Sunday. I feel like this is a game where Arizona's going to come out desperate. But when you look at Jonathan Taylor, what do we know about Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick, his whole career in the NFL, it has always been about stopping the opposition's best offensive player. That's what he's always done. And I'm thinking, okay, I think the Patriots are going to give the Colts problems this past Saturday, and Jonathan Taylor's going to have a little bit of a limited night. Nah, he ran for over 150 yards. So Belichick couldn't stop him. So am I supposed to think that Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals defensive staff is supposed to stop him? No, thank you. Merry Christmas, Indianapolis Colts fans. You guys are going to get this win on Saturday night. 28-24. The line is Cardinals -1. So even the bettors don't even trust Arizona that much at home. -1. I'm taking Indianapolis. Jump all over this. Take the Colts. 28-24. It's not if I were Bettin Man, but you got to take the Colts in this situation, considering how they're playing, considering Arizona is kind of sputtering as of late. Moving into Sunday, December the 26th. You've got the Detroit Lions taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on teams that have no shot at the playoffs. For Detroit, according to Dan Campbell, Jared Goff is going to be out for this game, so it's possibly going to be Tim Boyle or whoever else they have in that quarterback room. As for the Atlanta Falcons, they're 6-8. They're struggling, but going against a quarterback in Tim Boyle possibly, who didn't even throw for 100 yards in his last start against the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons to win this game and cover the spread's -6.5. I don't think they'll cover that. Because look, Detroit plays hard. I'll give Detroit that, man. They play hard for their head coach, but I will take the Atlanta Falcons to win this game, not cover, but to win 21-17 in a little bit of an ugly game. Watch out for Kyle Pitts, by the way. Let's move into a massive AFC North game. A game that could literally turn the fortunes of two teams' seasons. The Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams have the same record at 8-6, but if the season ends today, the Cincinnati Bengals win the division and have a home playoff game. The Baltimore Ravens are at home watching the playoffs with the rest of us. So for both teams, man, this is huge. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is possibly going to be out. He has not practiced this week. Maybe you could say he plays because they kind of took it up to the wire against the Packers. Maybe that's just to sort of mess with the Packers psychologically. We see coaches do that sometimes. If a great player is probably going to miss the game, but they kind of play mind games. This game being in Cincinnati, I think, does matter because, look, the Bengals are favored -3, so they're saying it's a pick'em. This was the hardest game I've had to predict in weeks. Because the last time these two teams played and Lamar was healthy, the game was in Baltimore, and Cincinnati shellacked Baltimore in the second half. I think they held Baltimore scoreless, actually, in the second half. They didn't score a point. And Cincinnati, Burrow, Chase went crazy on that Ravens secondary. But it's bad weather, and I love Lamar Jackson. I do. That's my guy. I love Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley's been pretty darn good. He's not Lamar, obviously, but he's looked pretty darn good. And so, in a little bit of an upset, I'm going to take the Ravens to win this game. In part, by the way, I did pick the Ravens to win the AFC North before the season started, so maybe that has something to do with this decision. But with all that said, Ravens, another bird team. Ravens win this game, this huge, probably the biggest game all season in the AFC North to this point. Ravens win 24-20. They take control of the division. And the Bengals, I think if they lose this game, they will be out of the playoffs going into Week 17. So they'll be in some desperate football games from there on out. So I will take the Ravens to win on the road. They'll split the games. Baltimore, Cincinnati, 24-20 Ravens. Let's head out to Minnesota. Not out in the cold. We're not going out there. But indoors at US Bank Stadium, we're going to have the Los Angeles Rams at 10-4 taking on the 7-7 Minnesota Vikings led by Kirk Cousins. Now, the Rams are favored in this game -3.5. So Vegas on the road, they love the Rams. Here's the thing. Matt Stafford struggled up until the fourth quarter. He struggled against a bad Seattle defense and a bad Seattle secondary. Minnesota's isn't one necessarily to brag about, but that defensive line can give you problems. They get after the quarterback. LA's offensive line isn't terribly deep. And as for Kirk Cousins, what do we know about him? He's bad in primetime. That's been established. He's bad in primetime. Last week they won, but he didn't even throw for 100 yards. He threw for like 85 yards. They won in spite of Kirk Cousins. But Dalvin Cook is a problem. He can run the football on you. Jamar Chase against Jalen Ramsey. That's the matchup of the week. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings to win this game, folks. They're more desperate than the Rams. The Rams may not take this as seriously as they should, because if you look at the rest of the Rams' schedule, they got the Ravens and the 49ers coming up. Both those teams are better than Minnesota. So maybe they're looking past Minnesota a little bit. It's Central Time. It's an 10 o'clock kickoff time in Los Angeles AM. Obviously, in Minnesota, it'll be at noon. I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game. I think Kirk Cousins throws a party. It's 1 o'clock. The Vikings are desperate. They have to win this game more than the Rams do. Minnesota upsets the Rams 28-23. Notice, that is not my upset of the week. That's coming up in a few. Another massive division matchup in the AFC East. You got the Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots. The Patriots at home at Gillette Stadium are favored -2.5. Now, I picked the Bills not only to win the AFC East. I picked the Bills to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl to play Tampa Bay. But Josh Allen's health scares me a little bit. He's dealing with some leg issues. Again, against an average team like Carolina, below average team, really, they weren't necessarily that apparent. You got Stephon Diggs, obviously, who can beat any corner in the NFL. But for New England, they do something astronomically better than Buffalo. Run the football. With that said, I think that decides it. The Patriots win this game 24-21. Patriots win 24-21. They deal a pretty tough blow to Buffalo's playoff chances. They deal a death blow pretty much to their division chances. Patriots win their 10th game of the season. I had them winning, 8? I had the Patriots going 8-9 this season. They've already exceeded that. They're going to continue to do that on Sunday. They will run the football. I would hope that Mac Jones throws more than 3 passes, which I think he will. At least I'd hope. But I think this will be another kind of ugly game in Foxborough. Patriots run the ball well. They beat the Bills 24-21 in what will be a very tight football game. And the Bills, by the way, are not good in one-score games. They have not won a single game this year if it's within one score. So keep that in mind. A game between the first pick in the draft and the second pick in the draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars travel to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets. The Jets are favored -1.5. Again, I don't like to spend a ton of time on bad teams, but this is intriguing just for the fact that you've got the first and second overall picks playing in this game, and both guys have been garbage this season. Now, of course, I like probably most people, was bigger on Trevor Lawrence than I was on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's interception scared me a little bit, but Trevor Lawrence has had the same problem. 9 touchdowns, 14 picks this season. That's bad. Now, he needs a legit NFL head coach. Urban Meyer, that didn't work. We all know that did not work. And so, on the road, in the Meadowlands, I'm going to bet that Zach Wilson throws more picks than Trevor Lawrence does, puts Jacksonville in more good field positions than Trevor Lawrence does for the Jets. And so I'm going to take the Jaguars to win this game and upset 27-22. This is a game probably that both teams really don't want to win that much because of draft position. As it stands now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Jaguars have the number 1 pick again, which, again, there's a reason they had the number 1 pick last year. They were terrible. They went out and got Trevor Lawrence. But both teams probably don't want to win this game a whole lot. Maybe not the players want to win, but I'm talking about the organizations. Shad Khan and I believe the Johnson family still owns the Jets. Neither of those families really want to win this game, but I think Jacksonville will win this game. And I guess at that point, they would put the Jets in a position where they have the number one pick, depending on what happens with Detroit against Atlanta. To the NFC East, you've got a team that's out of the playoff mix, a team that is very much in it. The New York Giants going to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Philadelphia, big favorites at home, -10. But what do I know about the NFC East? These games are usually close. They played at the Meadowlands a few weeks ago. Remember when people were like, oh, is Philadelphia going to catch up to Dallas for the NFC East? And the Giants said, no, thank you. Well, the Giants defense said, no, thank you. We're going to take care of business in that regard. And so, being that Philadelphia does something better than any team in football, and that's running the football, being that Daniel Jones has been shut down for the year with that neck injury, so I don't know if it's going to be Mike Glennon, who's terrible. I don't know if it's going to be Jake Fromm, who I would go with. But I'm going to take Philadelphia to win this game. I don't think they're going to cover the spread. When I saw 10 points, I was like, man, I don't know about this. But NFC games are close. NFC East games, mind you. Philadelphia wins by 7. It's a little low scoring, because it's cold weather, it's bad weather, it's December. But also for the fact that running the football kills the clock, just like they did on Tuesday against Washington. And plus, you got to keep in mind, Philadelphia just played a few days ago. Literally a few days ago, they just played Washington. So, and they had to play on their off day too, which I'm sure just thrilled the players. But Sunday at home, they get to 8-7. They continue to shock me, to shock a lot of people, and to stay in that playoff hunt. To their credit, Philadelphia wins this game 20-13. Now, it is time for the upset of the week. Upset of the week. It features a division matchup in the NFC South. And you guys probably know what I'm talking about at this point. Give me the Carolina Panthers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. Call me crazy. I don't care. I don't blame you, frankly. Carolina wins 25-20. Here's why. There's a few variables going into this. Number one, Carolina's at home. Number two, it's a division game. Remember, Atlanta gave Tampa Bay problems when Tampa was healthy. And so what I look at is this. Tampa Bay is beat up right now. Badly. You've got Godwin, gone for the year. Evans, week to week. Fournette, gone for the year. Levante David, gone for the year. We all know teams are hurt at this point in the year. Everybody's beat up. But those are some key guys that were massive for Tampa Bay winning the Super Bowl last year. And so missing those guys being the fact that, look, Tom Brady was frustrated. We saw what he was yelling at that Saints sideline. Maybe he comes out and he's, quote-unquote, as Julian Edelman once called him, Psycho Tom. Maybe that comes into play here. But people forget this. Cam Newton has never lost to Tom Brady in his whole career. He's 2-0. Now, it's a small sample size. I get that. And we're talking about the old Cam Newton, the MVP-style Cam. But I'm going to go with history, recent or not. I'm going to go with the fact that Tampa Bay is beat up. They're 10-point favorites coming into this game, which I think is absurd. Maybe that says more about Cam Newton than it should. But Cam, Sam Darnold, they'll split the snaps. I get that. But I just got a feeling that Carolina, this is their Super Bowl. They're out of the playoffs. They're 5-9. Does the coach get fired? Who knows? Cam Newton's gone after this year. There's a lot of turmoil. The offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, got fired. A lot of turmoil in Carolina. This is their Super Bowl. Yes, they play Tampa Bay a couple weeks from now at Raymond James. Tampa's going to win that game. This is Carolina's Super Bowl. This game means more to them than any game all season because it's a division rival, and their division rival happens to be the Super Bowl champions. Give me the Carolina Panthers in my upset of the week. Here we go. All right, shifting to a game I'm not going to spend much time on because you got a playoff team, a team that's going to make the playoffs against a team that is certainly not, a team that's going to be in contention for the number one pick. The Los Angeles Chargers, who are 10-point favorites on the road at Houston. That's the only 10-point spread I saw this weekend where I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Chargers are going to win this game 31-14. Justin Herbert's amazing. The Houston Texans defense is garbage. Davis Mills, credit to him. He won his first NFL start last week, but it was against Jacksonville. And I like Davis Mills. I liked him out of Stanford. But give me the Los Angeles Chargers any day of the week. They'll take care of business. They know they need to. They suffered a tough loss to Kansas City last week. Chargers win 31-14. It is now that time, ladies and gentlemen.
Would I have Bettin Man?
If I were a betting man, it's the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle at home is favored -6.5. Now, both teams, of course, are out of the playoff mix. And so maybe as far as playoff implications, this game means almost nothing. But the reason I have this, if I were a betting man, is for this. I think both teams are a little bit beat up psychologically from what's happened in the last month in regards to injuries and losing games that maybe they should have won or shouldn't have won or getting blown out. For the Bears, they know their head coach is going to get fired. He's gone. Matt Nagy's going to get fired. And so you've got guys that are going to be playing for their jobs. In Seattle, however, does Pete Carroll get fired? Does he resign? Who knows? But I think at this point, the guys in that Seattle locker room, and I talked about this yesterday on the show with Barry, they kind of feel like he's one foot in, one foot out with this team. Russell Wilson, I'm talking about. And so the Bears, at the very least, they know, okay, Justin Fields is the franchise quarterback. He's the guy for the future. Seattle's like, is Russell Wilson going to be here next year? And if so it kind of, I feel like the Seattle's dealing with more than the Bears are. And so not only I'm going to take the Bears +6.5. I think they win this game straight up, 24-19. Because like I said, Seattle, I think, is just, look, the Bears didn't have big expectations going into this year. They didn't. Nobody looked at the Bears as like, oh boy, they're a threat at the NFC. Heck, nobody even looked at them as a threat in their own division. Seattle, on the other hand, is a team like, hey, they won the NFC West, the best division of football. They won that last year with a 12-4 record. Russell Wilson, up until the last month of the season, was in the MVP discussion. At some points, leading it. This year, boy, different script, different story. And so with that said, I think I got the Bears +6.5, and I think they win it 24-19. If I were a betting man, take the Bears +6.5 all day. Moving on. You've got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in what will be a game I'm assuming being broadcast on CBS by Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, or Jim Nantz and Tony Romo is the better way to put it. Great broadcasting crew at CBS. For Kansas City, they sit atop the AFC, which is unbelievable because 2 months ago the sky was falling. They're 3-4. 2 months later, they're 10-4 on a 7-game winning streak at home against a desperate Pittsburgh team. Now, Pittsburgh's defense came out very desperate last week against the Tennessee Titans, to their credit. But in case you haven't been following football recently, Kansas City's offense is a little better than Tennessee's, I think, to say the very least. We all know what Patrick Mahomes represents. We know what the beast that Travis Kelce is. The man had 191 receiving yards last week against the Chargers. That's crazy. You've got guys like Tyreek Hill who can burn you. He's dealing with injuries, but for the most part, he's going to be ready to go. So this line, when I saw the line -8.5, I was like, man, I don't know about this. But when I stopped and looked at this for a second, I think due to the fact that Ben is immobile, due to the fact that the Steelers' offensive line has been hot and been cold, I think the Chiefs take away Najee Harris early. And so I think they're going to force Big Ben to throw. I think those Kansas City corners, Kansas City, this is the first time I've said this in the show about the Chiefs this year, that's the most underrated secondary in the NFL. I'm telling you, man, Snead, Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, I'm telling you, those guys are good, are really good. And Pittsburgh's got good receivers, Johnson and Claypool. But man, those guys in Kansas City can lock you down. They can lock you down, especially against a quarterback that is not a playmaker anymore, that can't move around anymore. So I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, actually, to cover the spread. I'm sure a lot of people are going to take Pittsburgh +8.5. That's fine. But I think due to the fact that maybe Pittsburgh's defense gets a little tired after a while, TJ Watt's dealing with injuries, I'm going to take Kansas City to cover the spread and win 30-20. Really lay a tough blow to Pittsburgh's playoff chances, maybe even flat out knock them out of the playoffs to a certain degree. The Steelers may actually need some help at this point. And Kansas City will go to 11-4, extend their winning streak to 8. stay atop the AFC, and keep that number 1 seed. Let's go to now the Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Long story short, this is an elimination game. You got two teams that are 7-7. The loser is done. They're out. They're not making the playoffs at 9-8 in the AFC. The winner, 8-7, they're very much alive. You got the Cardinals obviously playing the Colts. These two teams will be hoping for a Cardinals win on Christmas tomorrow. So what it all comes down to is this. Teddy Bridgewater, God bless him. I'm praying for him. Hopefully he's recovering from that really scary injury the other day. But because he's out, Drew Lock's starting. And we know this is not a good Raiders defense. But Drew Lock's going to give him some opportunities. He's going to make some plays that are like, what are you doing? What? You are handing the Raiders turnovers. I say Drew Lock turns the football over 3 times on Sunday. And do that, Derek Carr, the steady, reliable veteran that he is. I love Derek Carr. I've been defending this guy for years on this show. I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game 23-20 for the third time, the third straight win for the Raiders. It will be on a walk-off field goal by Daniel Carlson. Daniel Carlson wins it with a walk-off field goal once again for the Raiders. This time at home, he did it to break my heart on Thanksgiving Day against my Cowboys, and then he did it against the Cleveland Browns on Monday night. So I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game 23-20, knock a very talented Broncos team out of the playoffs, and Denver will be looking, if they haven't already, for a new quarterback. Possibly Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, who knows. The final game, let me get this little guy out here. Shout out to my grandmother. She got this little guy for Christmas. It is a Dak Prescott bobblehead. Just give you guys a little view of that. My guy, of course, I wear my hat, the Dak hat all the time on the show. So what I'm going to do with this guy here, he's going to be in my living room as I watch this next game. I'm going to predict, of course, the Washington football team taking on my Dallas Cowboys. He's going to be in the room for good luck. I've relied on a bobblehead for good luck. If I sound crazy, then I'm probably crazy. But Dak's been in a little bit of a slump, but I defended him last week for this reason. You're playing the Giants. It's Mike Glennon. The defense can be had as far as in the running game. We're going to bleed clock. We're going to run the football. My issue with the Cowboys, honestly, and Amari Cooper pointed this out recently, we're just not throwing it down the field enough. And maybe that was a little bit of a shot at his quarterback, but I understand. They need to push the ball down the football field. I think this is, to me, if this is not the game, I don't know when it's going to be. They got a chance to win the NFC East. Should the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Giants, then the Cowboys will have to win in order to win the NFC East on Sunday, which I think Philly will win against the Giants. So playing a 6-8 Washington team who just played a few days ago, they're beat up. They got COVID. I believe Taylor Heineke is going to start. And so I think, to me, I don't want, by the way, the line is -10 Dallas. I don't want to win on Sunday. I want a beatdown on Sunday. There is no excuses for the Cowboys. They're way healthier than Washington. They got way more to play for than Washington. They're at home, Sunday Night Football. The place will be going crazy. They haven't played a home game since Thanksgiving, since a month ago. I'm going to rely on this guy right here and the running game to win this game for the Cowboys 30-16. I think because of what Amari Cooper said, maybe not as a direct result of it, but I do think they're going to push the ball down the field a little bit more. I really do. I think they're going to push the ball down the field, get some big plays, and win this game convincingly 30-16. They're going to give Taylor Heineke more problems, just like the defense did a couple weeks back. Micah Parsons, have fun, because you're going to have a lot of shots at the quarterback on Sunday night in front of the whole country on NBC. I'm sure the rating for this game will be huge. It's a classic rivalry. Dallas, Washington, and Dallas gets the better end of it. Once again, Dak goes to 9-1 against Washington in his career, and the Cowboys win 30-16 because of this guy. There you go. I'm going to put him back. Put this bobblehead back. Shout out to my grandmother giving this to me for Christmas last night. So let's see. Is that good? There we go. All right. So he's going to have a permanent spot there on the carving it up shelf right behind me. Those hallowed shelves with footballs and hats and basketballs and books and R2-D2 back there as well. So last thing before we get out of here, There's 5, as it stands now, there's 5 NBA Christmas Day games. Now, call me a skeptic, but I'm highly doubtful that these games, at least all of these games, get played. I'm not saying none of them will. I'm saying I don't think all of them will. So first, you've got Atlanta going to New York to take on the Knicks. The Knicks are favored -6.5, and they should. Because, by the way, Kemba Walker last night. Tom Thibodeau, you took this guy out of the rotation? What are you doing? So you got Kemba Walker, who's feeling good about himself. He should. He dropped 44 last night. And then on the other hand, you've got the Atlanta Hawks, who are COVID ravaged right now. Gallinari, Lou Williams, Trae Young, I think, has it. Clint Capella. I'm sure I'm missing some other guys, but Atlanta is just totally ravaged with COVID right now, unfortunately. So will this game get played? I hope. It's basketball. I'll take it. It's basketball at Madison Square Garden at noon, which is of course good for New York City and good for the NBA, but especially before those NFL games come on. But I'm going to take New York to win this game. I'm not going to give you a score on any of some of these. I'll give you a score on one. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, but I'll take the New York Knicks to win. The Hawks just don't have the horses right now. They don't have the firepower offensively. I don't know what much they can give you defensively against a Knicks team that, listen, can give you buckets. You got guys like Alec Burks who can give you good opportunities offensively. Derrick Rose is out for 8 weeks due to an ankle surgery, so praying for him. Hopefully he gets better soon. But he's out, so he can give you stuff offensively, but he's going to be out for Christmas. You got guys, Mitchell Robinson's great defensively. So I just think it's going to be a long afternoon for Atlanta, and I will take the Knicks to win. Then you have the Boston Celtics taking on the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks on ABC. Milwaukee, it's a pick 'em. Milwaukee's favored -3. Milwaukee's also got some COVID problems. I believe Chris Middleton is in protocols. And then as for the Celtics, it's just not working this season. You got Udoka, the new head coach. I like him. I think he could work. But Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, maybe are their heads in it as far as competing for championships? This roster certainly isn't capable of doing that. They've got other guys in protocols. So I'll take Milwaukee. I'll take the champs at home. I think they cover the 3-point spread and win this game over Boston. Boston's just kind of in flux right now. And as for the Bucks, I think they're going to win the East again. I do. I got Milwaukee winning the East. Again, that's what I like about this time of year with the NBA. Right around Christmas, because you get these great games on Christmas Day, you kind of have a good sense for who's good and who's not. You kind of have a good feel for it. So, but I'll take the champs to win. The third game is the best game, without a question. I think everybody would agree with me on this. My Golden State Warriors going to the Valley to take on the Phoenix Suns. These are the two best teams in the NBA. This should have been the primetime game. It should have been. So Phoenix is favored -5.5. They played 2 times this year. They played once in Phoenix when the Suns won, and then they played once in Golden State when Golden State won. So it's back in Phoenix for this third go-around in the last month between these two. And I don't want to do this. I love my Warriors. I'm picking Phoenix to win. They're favored -5.5, like I said, because historically, Steph isn't very good on Christmas. That's my guy. I think he's the best player in the world. My man dropped 46 last night against the Memphis Grizzlies. But he's not good on Christmas for one reason or another. It don't matter if it's at home, on the road. Steph Curry has always struggled on Christmas Day. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but it's just reality. And so it's kind of like I got Cam Newton out-dueling Tom Brady and Carolina upsetting Tampa, just because history tells me Cam outplays Brady in the matchups. Well, Chris Paul usually outplays Steph on Christmas when they play one another, and Steph struggles on Christmas Day. So I don't want to do this, and boy, do I hope I'm wrong. I'd love a good old-fashioned Christmas Day win as a good present tomorrow, but I'm going to take Phoenix to win. I'm going to take Phoenix to win because you got two teams. Yeah, 26-5 are the Phoenix Suns, and 26-6 are my Warriors. So the winner of this game is the number 1 seed now in the Western Conference. So this is actually kind of a big game as far as seeding is concerned. So it's perfect that they meet together on ABC at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific time on Christmas Day. That's going to be a fun one for sure. I think it's going to be a close game. And I don't know who's going to be in and out of health and safety protocols for the Warriors, so that plays into it too. Phoenix, for the most part, is healthy. Devin Booker's back, so I will take the Suns to win, although I very much hope I'm wrong. The one that was supposed to be the big game, the nightcap, the Nets and the Lakers, is supposed to be the superstar showdown of superstar showdowns. The problem is AD's out for the Lakers with an MCL issue. And both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are out for the Nets. So it's basically going to be LeBron and Westbrook versus James Harden. I'll take the Lakers because the Nets haven't played in almost a week. Yes, the Lakers are struggling, but it's at home, albeit Crypto.com Arena. That place is Staples Center, man. That's ridiculous. I changed the name. And I get it. It's all about the bottom line. I understand that and totally get it. But dang, that's Staples Center, man. That's not Crypto.com Arena. But I'll take the Lakers to win this game. They're only actually Brooklyn's favored by a point. I think LeBron will have the help he needs over James Harden because, look, the Nets are just ravaged with COVID right now. So I'll take the Lakers to win and upset Brooklyn to a certain degree. Dallas is dealing with some COVID problems. The Dallas Mavericks, that is. They're going to Utah to take on the Jazz. At least they're scheduled to. And Utah, big favorites at home, -12. I think they cover because Luka's out. Tim Hardaway's out. Max Kleber is out. So Dallas is having some COVID problems. Like I said, it kind of sucks because there were some really good games on Christmas that have kind of gotten screwed up, as quite a few things have by this pandemic. So again, everybody stay safe out there. That's what I've got on Christmas Day as far as the NBA. I've got the Knicks, Bucks, Suns, Lakers, Jazz. Is that all home teams? I just realized that. I just picked all the home teams to win. Surely there'll be a road team here or there. Maybe Golden State. All right. That is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by in this noon show. Catch us on Monday. We're back at the normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. If you've been listening to the Carving Up podcast, we appreciate that as well. You've been listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you get your podcast. It is Christmas Eve, ladies and gentlemen. It is the holidays. So have a great weekend. Stay safe. You and your families and everybody have a very Merry Christmas. Have a happy holiday season. God bless you all. See you on Monday.